Morning, everybody. Morning, Eric. Morning, Daniel. How you guys doing?
Good
Morning,
morning.
doing great.
Great, thank you.
Good. We'll just wait for a few attendees to join, and then we'll get started with some intros, and then we'll dive right into it. I can see people trickling in. As they are trickling in, I think I would just a couple housekeeping notes. We will record this webinar and send it out after for those that have to leave early or can't join for whatever reason today. So if you've registered, you will get a recording in your email sometime later this week. I think we're starting to see a bunch of people trickle in. So why don't we start with introductions, and then we can dive right into the content. So my name is Eddie Bakey. I am the VP of Revenue at Flinks. I'm really excited today to be joined by Daniel and Eric. I'll throw it over to Daniel first to introduce himself, and then we can have Eric and then get into it. So Daniel, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Morning, everyone. So Daniel Shane here. I'm the head of product at Fig. Been at Fig since June of last year. So joined 3 months after we launched. Spent most of my career in fintech. Prior to Fig, I was a co-founder and CEO of a buy now, pay later company called Credit Genie that was acquired by Purpose, the asset manager out of Toronto.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Eric?
Awesome. Yep. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm Eric Gilno. I'm a product manager here at Flinks. So I work with everything from our data enrichment products, as well as most recently launching our updated Flinks Connect widget that allow users, to link their bank account and share their data. So super happy to be here and discuss the kind of innovation in the lending ecosystem. So awesome to be here.
Great. Really looking forward to the chat today. Thanks both for joining. I think, we have a jam-packed session. Keep the conversation free-flowing. We really want to dive into, what innovation looks like in lending today, what it's going to look like moving forward, and then how you can kind of set yourself apart from, being an innovator versus kind of being a follower. So from the audience, feel free to ask questions throughout. We will have a little bit of a Q&A towards the end, 5 to 10 minutes to go. And there will be a few polls that pop up, so feel free to engage that way as well. Let's get right into it. Daniel, I'll throw this one to you. What does innovation mean to you in the context of lending, and how have you seen it kind of evolve over the last few years?
Yeah, great question. So I think with lending, really, there's kind of two cornerstones to any lending business. There is the credit adjudication. In the case of Fig, it's loan adjudication, and then there's risk management, right? So when it comes to loan adjudication, it's all about how do you make the user experience as seamless and as streamlined as possible. So really, it's asking yourself the question: how can you get customers approved quicker, and how can you fund them quicker? Then there's risk management, right? So lenders have to manage a multitude of risks. There's compliance risk. There is, credit risk, fraud risk. We always say that lending money is the easy part. Getting paid back, that's the hard part. So really, innovation when it comes to risk management, it's being able to be data informed and effectively leverage the data in order to make smart decisions. So it's all about the data and how do you utilize the data. In terms of, I guess, how innovation has really evolved over the last few years, I think when it comes to credit adjudication, so there's been an emergence of lots of different vendors like Flinks that have helped us streamline and automate parts of the lending journey that were previously either manual or were time consuming or just not streamlined, that caused a lot of headache for customers. So it's the streamlining of that user journey. And then I think for risk management in particular, it's the proliferation of big data, of machine learning, that have given lenders new and unique ways to leverage that data, to draw more insights of the data, and to more effectively manage the risk within the business.
Yeah, fantastic answer. And I think you touched on a lot of very important pieces. And I always come back to the customer in scenarios like this. And so you mentioned that at the beginning, where customer experience and customer journey, it's obviously speed for them, but then it's also on the backside, making sure that your risk is taken care of. Eric, I kind of flipping it over to you, obviously we've seen a ton of digitization,
Yep.
you know, working with a lot of lenders at Flinks. What would you say is kind of some of the most impactful digitization journeys or methods that we've seen over the last little while?
Yeah, I think really to kind of build on that, I think in general, like the way we think about products at Flinks, and you know, it's not just related to lending, but you know how we see every day how kind of technology and innovation moves across many industry. We see the advent of generative AI recently. You know, we have all this unstructured data. We see fintechs, and kind of their influence in making those user journeys that you talk about really great and kind of challenging the sort of status quo. So I think kind of it all kind of leads into what you touched upon, Daniel, as well. It's like this super high consumer expectation of what a digital experience is. And they kind of used to this in everything from their daily lives, using DoorDash or whatever. And this translates into to really, what their expectation is. And if you can't really deliver on that, they will just drop out on you. So it's about balancing that. I think that's kind of what we're helping our clients do in a good way. It's like balancing that on the upside of getting as many applicants through as possible, but also on the other side, protecting against fraud. And you don't want to, approve and then, get kind of these spikes of fraud that don't come, they don't come and trickling in. They might come as an attack or so. So it's balancing that act, I think. And then, like you say, Daniel, also kind of on the backside of that, using kind of that data and helping our clients really, leverage the underlying transactional data to get that quick turnaround time and get that kind of instant experience that they're used to. Ordering from a DoorDash, you're used to kind of getting the food instantly, and it's a kind of similar situation, I think, also from kind of evolving into the lending space as well.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point there too. Like obviously digitization is a huge word and the journey means so much, but when we think about our lives today, everything's done at the click of our iPhone or Android. And so making sure that the experience is synonymous with how you live your life today. So the DoorDash example is a perfect example. And I think, Daniel, you guys at Fig have mastered that as well. Obviously, you've thought about how to embed your technology into different places. So I think, as we look ahead to trends for 2025, before we dive in, we're going to launch a little poll here for the audience just to get some feedback so that we can kind of, have it be a little bit more interactive. So we will get that up on the screen any minute now. So how would you best describe your organization's approach to adopting new technology? Are there an early adopter, so you're always, up on the latest innovations in tech, cautiously optimistic, risk adverse, or still reliant on legacy systems? So we'll leave that up for a couple minutes. And as people are kind of voting on that, Daniel, I guess from your perspective, when you're evaluating vendors, obviously Fig is a very early adopter of innovation. How do you kind of go through that process to make sure that the vendors that you're bringing on board meet the expectation of the customer that you're dealing with?
Yeah, good question. So, we work with a multitude of different vendors, everything from, our fraud stack to our credit stack to our actual tech stack. There's, depending on the vendor, we evaluate it based on, a few different types of criteria. So for us, digitization API first is everything, right? We are a digital first solution. We offer, digital, personal, unsecured loans, and we make the process as seamless as possible. So a company that's able, that we can leverage, that can continue to help us stay digital and stay seamless and become even more streamlined. That's kind of table stakes for us. So API first, that's one. Two, I think companies that have, their compliance, their risk, their legal things in order. We look at everything from a risk and compliance sense. As much as, companies, we want to do everything under the sun when it comes to innovation. There are, legal and risk constraints that we have to fall within. So making sure that, the companies are, SOC certified, for instance, like depending on the industry they're in, that's important. How they handle PII, extremely important, right? Like we deal with a lot of PII, so ensuring that our vendor have just as strict standards when it comes to PI as we do. That's the second thing. And then I would say understanding how the specific vendor fits in within our digital journey, right? So we do a lot of testing whenever we can. We'll launch an MVP. We doing before doing a full-fledged launch, because we want to understand, what is the impact to the customers. I think a lot of times what's hard to really plan for are some of the edge cases that come up, right? It's easy to understand, what is the general use of the vendor, but sometimes it's the edge case where you can get caught with your pants down. So whenever possible, we try to do as much testing as possible, and then also, launch, an MVP before doing a full-fledged launch of the solution.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Eric, anything you wanted to add to that? I know we do a lot of POCs as well, and we're constantly testing edge cases, and that seems like your day job a lot of the time. But anything you want to add?
No, and I think kind of the key to fleshing out those edge cases is that, although we do extensive QA and testing on our side, it's also some in that collaboration with clients that are, discovering unique use cases or unique edge cases that come up. And it's kind of that collaboration, a strong collaboration that we do. That's kind of how we view product here at Flinks as well, that we're working with partners like Fig in order to, flesh those edge cases out. So it doesn't mean that, we try to launch unfinished products. It really just means that we want to do as much testing in-house, but we also want that kind of direct feedback from clients and working directly closely with clients, so that the whole network benefits from these filling out those gaps basically.
Yeah, and I think that's everyone should be looking at it the same way, where you launch an alpha product, you get early adopters, you get their feedback in the beta stage, and then obviously you kind of launch the masses. I don't need to tell you guys about how to manage product. You're much more of an expert in that space than me. Right before we jump into kind of the trends for 2025, let's see what the results are from that poll, just so we have a sense of where everybody's at from an innovation standpoint. So very cautiously optimistic, I would say, is a 54%. Very few are on the risk adverse side, which is great. And then, 25% early adopters. So it seems like we have a wide range of, participants today, which is great. So I think that'll help us kind of talk to the trends that we're going to see in the lending technology space, and which ones we should kind of pay attention to and which ones are more just noise. And Daniel, I'm sure you guys get, people reaching out all the time, trying to sell you new products and features and whatnot. So from your perspective, what are you seeing in the market as to which innovations we should really be looking at in 2025? And I think you might say something to do with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it's how many times can you drop AI in a conversation? Yeah. But kidding aside, I think definitely machine learning and AI. I think the lenders that will continue using models of the past will eventually fall behind. I think there are challenges though. It's like, how do you effectively incorporate machine learning, AI into your business? It's most of the times I would say it's easier said than done. I think, you got to think of the specific use case. Is it, external, like a chatbot, or is it internal to help you have a more sophisticated underwriting model, more sophisticated fraud model? So, there's all these questions about how to effectively use it. I think a lot of times, vendors that lenders work with are implementing AI themselves. So it's not so much, how can we implement AI internally, but how can we work with vendors that are using AI, machine learning, big data themselves, right? So, the vendors that do the heavy lifting, which I know Flinks does. So that, I'd say definitely AI, machine learning. I'd say the other one, which is kind of related, is the advancement in fraud detection tools. Scammers are unfortunately getting much more sophisticated, much smarter. They're actually using AI themselves, leveraging deep fakes. So that's one area that I would say where, we're really paying attention, is how can we continuously enhance our fraud stack, not only through effectively leveraging data, but also working with vendors that can help us, catch the bad actors.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. Like the fact that we're always reactive to fraudsters, right? And so how can we make sure that we're being, more proactive and utilizing that technology to do so? Eric, I think we're thinking a lot of the same lines with regards to AI, but anything that you wanted to kind of add? I know we've talked about it from a support perspective internally, as well as obviously enhancing our models, but I'm sure you have a few other points you want to get across.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, Daniel, you really hit the nail on the head. You could say, I mean, like you say, for AI, there is a lot of noise out there. It's not like you can throw in a bank statement into ChatGPT and just expect result. You run into all kind of privacy issues and whatnot. So I think you have to really be kind of cautious. I think the real benefit that we're seeing with these large language models, for example, is that we can improve our model categorization and performance and kind of turning more unstructured data into structured data in a sort of different way, rather than just, another chatbot. I think those type of things are a little bit part of the noise when it comes to all of this that we kind of hear in the market. And I think, trying to really understand the underlying problem. And like we said, does this help kind of speed up underwriting, automate things, like improve our models, improve our approval rates and so on. So making sure that they kind of drive those key metrics. But of course, we're working very much on this and, continuously update our models to make them, really effective. And the second piece, like you mentioned, is on the fraud piece. We're also heavily investing into this and looking into ways to further improve and, we have specific attributes that can look and identify specific frauds, but we're also working on various methods and sort of into next year as well, looking into how we can help, the lending community protect against fraud, because like you say, it's a real threat, right?
Yeah, and I think you touched on something interesting there, Eric, which was like the noise. Obviously, in all of tech, there's a lot of noise, and it's those whose voices are usually the loudest. But how do we cut through that noise looking into 2025? Like, obviously, AI is a buzzword, machine learning is a buzzword. But Daniel, from your perspective, like, what can companies do to kind of cut through that? Is it by picking one area to focus on? Is it by picking one part of the customer journey to focus on? Like, how are you guys looking at cutting through the noise to make sure that you're providing the most value for your customers?
Yeah, so I think in a lot of ways, like, lending is relatively simple. It's like the same things that were applicable to lenders many years ago are still applicable today, right? Being customer centric, being data informed, optimizing your credit model, right? Optimize your collections. I think there's sometimes maybe a view that you have to flip lending on its head in order to innovate, which is can be farther from the truth. Like, I remember years ago, there was companies that were looking at, leveraging like Facebook likes for underwriting purposes. I doubt any of that is still around. So, when I say lending is simple, like what you need to succeed in lending is simple. It's really just, leveraging data. So, what capabilities can you have to interpret the data and draw meaningful insights from the data? You don't need to reinvent the wheel or have a new take on lending. There's a reason why lenders have been around for many years, but it is about streamlining the process and using the data more effectively. So in my view, I think the lenders that are going to be the winners as we fast forward are the ones that are going to be more effective in leveraging their data and are going to have the right data capabilities. And that's why machine learning, AI, big data, all those concepts, even though like on the surface it seems like a lot, but companies that figure out how to leverage them effectively are going to be the ones that will come ahead.
Yeah, the keep it simple, stupid principle, where you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Sweet. Eric, kind of jumping into Flinks Connect 2.0. Obviously, we just released it based on feedback that we've been hearing from our customers, Fig and the alike. Kind of what are some key innovations or things that you can help describe and into why we changed our version and what that helps lenders stay competitive, or how that helps lenders stay competitive?
Yeah, for sure, Eddie. So I mean, we launched Flinks Connect now, it's over 8 years ago. So I mean, since then we've, as we've continued to innovate and improve on the Flinks Connect widget. But I think really what we did this year was to take that big step to kind of do a step change and a larger update to Flinks Connect. And the really why is, like we talked about before, it's really about, we wanted to modernize the total experience of how users interact, making it, actually just more beautiful, intuitive, more tactile. So focusing on like the UX part of as well, but also adding some customizations to make it even more tailored to you as a lender, so you can make it more tailored to your specific value proposition. So that I would say like was the key piece. We also focused a lot on the speed. So we know that consumers are they're impatient, and they want to get through their day quickly. They have better things to do sometimes. So speed was a really key thing there. And I would say sort of the third pillar that what we worked through was around trust as well. So it's around building trust for you as a lender, but also as Flinks as a technology partner, right? In that, and kind of what we are doing here in this journey, so that they can kind of build that trust over time. So yeah, I would say that's kind of really the essence about it. It's about like giving consumers, the right to their data, and how they choose to share it and with who, and making sure that they can really trust that process. Which is often to like maybe not always to it's more for the people maybe sometimes that are underserved and that don't have the best credit score, etc. So I think that's really what we wanted to do, kind of make it super inclusive. And I think
Awesome.
We have a blog post about it, so you can also check it out for everyone that's hasn't seen it or kind of want to get a flavor of what it looks like.
Great, thanks, Eric. We're getting a few questions starting to trickle in, so please feel free to keep adding them. A couple more points I just kind of wanted to dive through before we get to the questions. From an innovation standpoint, obviously Fig is kind of at the top of the game and doing something quite unique. So Daniel, can you kind of speak to how your embedded product provides value add to your partners today?
Yeah, absolutely. What Fig is essentially, we're an unsecured prime lender, right? So we provide customers with very simple loans through a digital channel. Our average loan is about 15,000. We can go up to 30,000, and we've originated over 200 million since we've launched. Our strategy for launch when we went live was B2B2C, right? So enabling our distribution partners to embed personal lending into their platforms. Right now, we work with over 10 partners, everyone from Borrowell to Credit Karma, Neo, Walmart. We provide them the ability to offer personal loans to their customer base. We've also, after we went live, we realized that not every distribution partner is created equal. So, we have two solutions that we provide partners. One is what we call our embedded flow. So partners that are collecting all the information that we need for credit adjudication on their side, we can seamlessly provide a guaranteed approval directly in their platform, which is a very, very unique experience. But we do have partners that don't collect that information, or maybe they're looking for a simpler integration where they can just have a click-out link. So then we have something called an affiliate flow, where partners can essentially drive traffic to our site in order for us to collect all the information. And then more recently, we've also launched a direct-to-consumer channel. So applicants can go directly to fig.ca and apply for a loan through our website.
Fantastic. We are going to launch one more poll momentarily. You mentioned a couple of the products that you're working on today, but we'd love to know from the audience what you guys should build next. So is it a credit card, mortgage, home equity line of credit, student loan, car loan? Are you leaning towards one or the other right now, Daniel, or are we just looking to get some kind of market feedback?
Yeah, we'd just love to get some market feedback. I think, we've been laser focused on unsecured personal loans. That being said, I think the most successful lenders out there eventually branch out to other products. So yeah, we would love just to get some market feedback to see if we're, thinking along the right track.
Love it. So we have 6 minutes left. I know everybody has a busy day, so let's jump into some of the questions. First one actually probably more targeted for you, Eric. Speaking on fraud, we utilize Flinks statement upload to scan identity for any modifications. Can the tool also be used for other document types such as government ID, or will Flinks be introducing a solution for that shortly?
Yeah, I think kind of before answering that question, I think it also relates to the second question around, catering to the population that don't want to put in their banking credential online. So that's really why we launched bank statement upload, was to cater, allow your users to do the data sharing method that they feel most comfortable with. So basically be with your customers on, like we discussed before. So that's kind of the reason why we added that as an alternative data sharing method in first place. Then to the actual question about identity verification, it's actually, I want to turn it back a little bit. We have evaluated throughout the years if we should do a full-blown, ID verification or identity, government together with, facial scan and all that stuff. I did a lot of research during last year on this. It seemed then that a lot of our lending vendors or a lot of lenders already had different solutions in place and they're kind of happy with. So we are still evaluating this. Let us know, is this something you want us to see us build in the future to be sort of a one-stop shop for also that. But that's sort of the reason why we haven't included that yet, because you want to have that liveness together with scanning the government ID. Yeah.
Great. Daniel, one for you. What are some non-negotiable basic building blocks of a good fraud stack?
Yeah, so I think, I'm definitely, I don't claim to be a fraud expert. I think, we obviously work very closely with the risk team, but I think there's a few components here. One is PII, right? How is PII being used? Two is this like an API first solution? Is this a digital solution, right? We don't want to introduce something through our journey that has, let's say, a 24-hour response time, right? And then I think, when it comes to, let's say, identity verification specifically, what are the occurrence of false positive and false negatives, right? Can we rely on the data, right? I think if we can rely on the data, that means we have to hire a person that will be checking all the results, which impacts the operating leverage of the business. So when specific to like identity verification, we really care about false positives, false negatives, because that provides us an indication of whether the data can be trusted. Because I think mistakes or bugs or maybe gaps in a fraud stack can be very costly, right? Even one wrong customer that you lend money to is a big deal. So I think the accuracy and reliability of the data is extremely important.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. With only 2 minutes left, if there are any other questions, feel free to kind of add them in. In the meantime, I'll kind of turn it over to Eric and Daniel for some closing thoughts or anything they want to leave the audience with. So Eric, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think super interesting discussion. Happy with the questions as well. Yeah, I kind of just want to end by saying, if you have thoughts like how we can help you, we're at Flinks are available. So, feel free to reach out, through our relationship managers or directly with me. I'm super happy to talk to any of you and kind of hear you out throughout your problems. So, or kind of the challenges that you're facing. So, that's how we kind of innovate. We don't do it in silos. We do it together. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Eric. And Daniel, over to you for some closing words.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thought. Would love to have people reach out, whether it's potential vendors, customers, or even just thought leaders. To reach out. Would love to have chat with people to see how we can continuously innovate and improve the lending space. So yeah, open to feedback. And of course, if there are customers out there that are looking for a personal loan, then check out Fig. And yeah, would love to get your thoughts for ones that actually take out a loan through our website.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate both of you joining today and everyone in attendance. We love putting on these webinars, but we're also extremely open to feedback on what you want to see in the coming weeks and months. So please don't be a stranger. Daniel, Eric, thanks so much and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.